Inés Arroyo presenta Ruido Das, un podcast producido por Lagam en el que escucharemos hablar a mujeres top, independientes e inspiradoras.
My second podcast in English, so please be patient, please don't laugh a lot because I really have my English a little bit forgot because I didn't speak a lot since now, so I will try. I told my guest Daniela that I really gonna try hard to do as best as I can. So welcome another chapter to Ruido Das. As you know, Zalando, the largest online fashion platform in Europe and whose mission is to become the starting point of fashion, is our partner and supports all the production of this podcast as well. And Zalando wants to talk about fashion, and they do it through stories like the guest of our podcast. Today a really cool guest, someone that I can say that for me has the coolest job in Zalando, probably, for me. And I'm really excited for this podcast, first of all because it's in English and we are doing our best to do more worldwide our podcast and being more international. So this is the goal for my podcast. And also because I really admire the job of Daniela that is here from Berlin. So let me introduce you Daniela Klaeser, that is lead buyer for the women's sneakers department in Zalando. She is 33 years old and is from Cologne, Germany. She studied business administration and studied a master in marketing and brand management in Lund, Sweden. After her studies, she ended up in Berlin, working as a buyer in Zalando Lounge for 7 years. After 2 years of buying in women's apparel, she saw a job opportunity to change as a buyer of women sneakers. And currently, she is the lead buyer for the women's sneakers department, buying brands like Nike, Jordan, or Vans. So, hi Daniela, thanks a lot for being here with us. I really admire your job because it was my dream job when I was studying. I really wanted to be a fashion buyer. I didn't know where and which brand or where to focus, but my first internship in fashion was assistant to buyer of a luxury fashion multi-brand store in Barcelona. And I really enjoyed the experience. I really get to know a lot of fashion in that period. Is when I really get in love with fashion and with the products, with the materials, how to understand the clients, how to know what is cool and what it has to be sell and this kind of things. So it's a pleasure for me to have you here. So hi Daniela, how are you?
Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. And also, I'm a little bit nervous because this is actually my first live interview, so it's also a little new for me. But I'm super happy to be here and to talk about my job.
Before we continue with this, sometimes I always talk about fashion buyer because I really know the term and I really know what is the job. But probably there is someone listening here to us and they don't know what is a fashion buyer and what is the main point of a fashion buyer. What is your job daily? How do you work?
Yeah, so actually we get a set of brands, so we have different clusters within Zalando, and I work in the footwear department, being responsible for sneakers. So like you said before, I buy brands like Nike, Jordan, Vans, Converse, and we have meetings on a weekly basis with those brands, and we work together with the brands on their assortment, on their collection, that they offer the right sneakers for our customers so that they're always offering the latest trends, the right colors. And when doing that, obviously, we also decide, okay, what kind of products we want to show at Zalando and also how many quantities we want to buy. So this is main part of being a buyer. So actually buying for what's visible on Zalando. But as I said before, it's super versatile because it's not only buying, but it's also marketing, engaging with the consumers, and also for Zalando to become like a better streetwear and sneaker destination. So there's also a lot of projects with business development involved. So there are so many different things, and this is why I really love that trip actually.
So there's also a really there is a cool part, but also the analytic part that is super important as well. I before we get live, I told Daniela that my first internship was working for a multi-brand store as assistant to buyer, and I was traveling with the main buyer to Paris, to Milan, to the fairs. And I always, when we get to know the brands and when we get there to the showrooms to buy, I was like, oh, I really love these pants, because we bought t-shirts, pants, not shoes, okay? So when I was there, I was like, wow, I really love this dress, and the main buyer was okay, but this dress in Spain, you only wear it you. My other clients, they don't wear it, because it's a really fashion and trendy dress, but no one will pay for this dress, and I was always like, the things I really loved here in Spain was like, okay, but a short girl, because here in Spain we are not very tall, no? And in the showrooms they will always show us the clothes in height and in tall girls that they really fit perfectly, and we were like, okay, but here in Spain we cannot wear those pants because we will get them all how do you say it? On the floor, yes. And that's what's the point, that I really know that talking with the brands, how different countries were buying for the different cities. Not only countries. Here in Spain, there was also different, because the fashion multi-brand store that I was working for, it was in a near village by Barcelona, not in Barcelona city. And that was different also, because people from village, they are not the same as the city, and they don't buy the same products. And it was a whole world where I really understand, and I really get to know more about the clients and about the commercial and the positioning products, where you have to put your brand, because there was always like products that were like, okay, this we will only buy 5, because this one is only to have the best of the brand, because it's from the catwalk and we have to have it. But this we will not get money with these products. So that point, and I was doing it in a really low scale. In your big scale, it has to be for you like really challenging and difficult, no?
It's funny that you mentioned this, because in my team, my team's always making fun, because the sneakers I really like, they sell the least. So it's like I'm always too early, and they're always like, okay, no, we're not going on on the sneakers you like the most, because they won't sell anyways. No, it's definitely something I had to learn. But now, I mean, I have a lot of experience, and I know what colors are selling and when I see trends, but we also set really big bets when we believe in trends like running inspired styles or trail inspired styles or the platform sneakers. We can be bold. This is the good thing with online sales, because for stores, you're limited to the city or the country you're in. But for online, you're not limited, because like whole Europe is seeing, and you don't have to make sure the right style sits in the right city. But definitely there are so many differences when it comes to the markets, because we are online in, I don't know, 18 countries now, but it's also super interesting to see it. For instance, Spain, you buy a lot of high top sneakers, and Denmark or platform sneakers. You really like the Converse platform,
because we are short.
Yeah. super interesting. But Denmark, for instance, they really like trails, so Salomon. But I think this is also coming for Spain now.
Yeah.
So especially Spain, Italy, and the Nordics are super early when it comes to trends. And when you see those styles are working for specific countries, you already understand they might come later for Germany, because Germany is usually behind with trends.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not so fashionable like Spain is.
No, I thought yes. I thought, well, I thought
Berlin is.
Berlin,
But,
yes, it's really cool. Yeah.
yeah. So this is also really interesting to see the different consumers and where they shop and how they shop and who's early with trends. Also, France is super early with trends actually. So yeah.
And how do you catch the trends? So what inspired you, and how do you work on that previous work before meeting the brands? And how are you constantly working on trends? How do you inspire?
I mean, I spot trends actually a lot on social media. So I do a lot with Pinterest, but mainly Instagram. I follow some micro influencers, and there are some influencers like from key cities, like also New York, but also from Scandinavia a lot actually. And then I spot also the female speaker door. There are some really important ones because they usually also inspire me with their activations. And then what I also, yeah, I mean, Berlin is the best place to be. Unfortunately, the last 1.5 years we couldn't travel. But in Berlin, when you go out, the people are so inspiring. They have so amazing styles and they're so fashion forward. It's really like, yeah, looking at the street, looking what the people are wearing. Because one of my most favorite example is actually, I'm not sure how familiar you are with sneakers, but there's yeah, Essex running inspired style, 1090. And actually in summer 2018, I spotted this style, or I spotted Essex running vintage sneakers on influencers in Scandinavia, but also on some persons in Berlin. And obviously they bought those styles on eBay, and Essex didn't have them in the line. But then we pitched to go to Japan because this is where the archive of Essex sits. Yeah. So we pitched in Japan for Essex to bring back like this running inspired silhouettes. And we were really bold because we just saw this on influencers and it was actually just a feeling that this is coming. But actually now, like 3 years later, it's really one of the most successful styles for Essex, and Essex has grown so much with those styles. So this is actually one of my favorite stories to tell, and how we spotted a trend and how we were also bold, because obviously this is something we didn't know out of our numbers before, but yeah, this was super cool.
So you are always like mentioning Scandinavian styles. For us, for Lagam, is one of our inspiring target, as I said. And when I travel to Copenhagen, for me it's like the city where I really get super inspired, and our brand is super Scandinavian style, and we really love how they are always going before that anyone, no? And how their style has changed, no? Because like 3 years ago, you were talking about Scandinavian style, and you were always like black, white, gray, or beige. Now it's like super colorful. They are like mix and matching stripes with squares with dots, and I really think they have get to fashion. Like for me, the main trend people is now in Scandinavian, and how they have took their fashion to their people, no?
Yeah, totally. I totally agree because I mean, I also studied in Sweden and it was really close also to Copenhagen. Actually, just a train ride so to Denmark, and yeah, I get also super inspired by them and their style actually.
I saw the cooler sneakers that I don't remember the brand, but I remember I went to Sweden, to Stockholm, and I was there and I saw a girl with the coolest sneakers I've ever seen. And I was like, I really want to ask her because here in Spain is like normal, but I was like, I think I'm gonna not to tell her, but I was the coolest girls in Stockholm were wearing sneakers always, and it was like 5-6 years ago, but it was wow. She was wearing like super feminine dress, but was wearing with sneakers that now is super normal, but like 7-8 years ago or 10 years ago were like, what are you wearing? You should wear heels with those dress, no?
You should have asked, because it's always a compliment.
Yeah.
So I know it's always nice, right? So.
Yeah, that's true. And how was how has been your relationship with fashion evolved in these years? How have it changed?
I actually I found my style because obviously when you're younger you're experimenting, but now my style is really more unisex. I love oversized, casual, it's more laid back. And to be honest, I try not to buy into fast fashion anymore. Sometimes I do, but I really try not to. I try to buy a lot of vintage. For instance, all my jeans are vintage because I love the Levi's 501. That's the perfect fit for me.
And going back to your job, and when we were talking about the brands you work with, which is the criteria you have to work with a brand or not, or maybe there is one season you buy a lot of them, a lot of those models of that brand, but then next season is like, okay, I don't really like anyone, but as you know, you have to have like good relationship with the brands because you cannot only like buy one season, then another season doesn't buy anything. So you have, because brands also work like this with retailers. So which criteria do you have to work with a brand?
So obviously the brand has to offer some part of commercial styles. And then obviously they have to offer trends and newness to us. And they have to have a certain relevance for the customer. So they have to be interesting for the customer. But the thing is, what we do a lot at Zalando in the buying teams is that we try to work together with the brands on the assortment and on the line. So we really try to give the brands feedback to colors, to styles, to trends, to newness early enough that when we buy the product, they could include or implement our feedback already. So we work together on the ranges and what will be offered. So we try to help them that we don't in the end have to decide, okay, we don't buy anything or we buy little because we want to grow together basically. So yeah, it's really my experience that makes me choose things, obviously, which is good, but also what has worked in the past, what is working for other brands, what trends do I see maybe on social media, or colors are super important. Yeah.
And have you ever like worked with a brand that before with your team were like, okay, this brand is not very well known now, or a lot of people they don't know which brand is, but you, as Daniela said, okay, no, I really think this brand is gonna go up, and I really want to have it. And have you ever experienced that working with a brand?
Um, I mean, maybe those brands are already quite known. I mean, Essex was super, super small for women, and I've been always was a big believer in the brand, to be honest. Now I'm a really big believer in Zalando, to be honest. I mean, it's also well known, but it's not like super commercial.
No,
It's
yeah.
really, I would say it's really fashion forward. And then we have those smaller sustainable brands like Flamingo's Life. I mean, this is from Spain even, right?
Yeah.
And it's not well known as Bejar is, for instance, but I think we have really opportunity here.
And when you were like before, you were telling that the ones that you like most, probably or more a lot of times, are the ones that are not selling the most, no? So how is for you? Because I was telling you before my experience when I was doing my internship on those multi-brand store, but now in Lagam I really have this thing, no? Because we are every week like launching new products, and there is one product that you really think, okay, this is my sweet point product that it will go like top, and then it doesn't sell as you were thinking about, no? And you really believed in this product, and for a designer or a buyer, I really think sometimes it's very like, okay, I don't really know what you want, so tell me please, because I was like believing in this and now you don't want it, and when we didn't have it you were asking for. So sometimes it's like frustrating, no? Or sometimes you always have to answer to your sales, and sometimes it's like, okay, I cannot tell you, I really like this product, but you are not buying this product, you are buying the other one, so I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, no, I understand. This definitely can be super frustrating, but this is why. Before we actually decide on what to buy, we sit together with the brand like 2 times before we see the final line in giving them feedback. And actually, we have also really 1 to 3 year plans with the brands where we pitch, okay, what's performing, and we also have sometimes the opportunity to talk to the global product people. So for Nike, for instance, we sometimes have the opportunity to talk to the global team who really design the sneakers, and then to give feedback what is working for others. So we try to pick. Obviously, not always everything what we picked is working, but this is the good thing about online. We have more opportunities to sell it because it's a bigger market. We have possibilities to activate it, so to do marketing, and sometimes those things definitely help if our decision wasn't the right, because obviously it cannot be right always, you know? And in most of the times, either we have too less or too many, so you can't always be 100% right, actually.
That's true. Totally, I totally agree. And how has the have sneakers in women's fashion evolved? Because you are the lead buyer of women's sneakers. That like 20 years ago, in women it was not used to wear a lot of sneakers, and now is the really best trend that has in the 6 years later being for every woman, and not only fashionable women. And so how has evolved? Because it's really different to buy for men's department that for women's department in sneakers. How it works?
So we have at Zalando, we have one buyer for men unisex sneakers, and then we have our department for women's sneakers. And I think when I started at Zalando, like in this job, roughly 5 years ago, the women's sneaker department was maybe 1/3, or maybe not, yeah, maybe half as big as the department for men's sneakers. But then we really outpaced the growth for men's sneakers. So we're growing much faster because women have become as sneaker fans as men are, for sure, at the moment. However, I feel women at the moment still don't have an equal not, I mean, it has improved in the past 2 years, but actually, not always, not all sneaker drops are available in women's sizes. Not all sneakers that are launching for women as well as for men. Sometimes they only launch for men. So this is something we as women have to fight for. So to have our own collaborations, and also we don't always want pink collaborations. This is not what I'm saying, but we want like cool, strong collaborations, meaningful collaborations. We want to be part of the launch journey, and but also being a female sneaker buyer is different because this is fun about it, because women's taste in sneakers is more diversified. We really like the platforms. I mean, men also start like to own sneakers now, but women like platforms, they like wetness, I don't know, there are so many different types of sneakers that women like that we can pitch, and also women react to trends much faster than men, which is also, it's much more diversified, I would say.
Yes, I normally love the sneakers of the men collection and not women. And I'm always like, okay, but why there is no little sizes? Because they are really different. And I really think normally on the big partnerships and collaborations, they do like cooler things for men than for women. And for women, it's like always the basic ones. Like, okay, it's basic ones, but also not only the colors, also the how do you say? Yeah, the style. So it's different. I really want like more big sneakers, and for girls it's like always really slim sneakers and very different. And it's like, okay, they really have to change it, and there is where you can see that there are a lot of difference between women and men. And I think that is a work that the fashion girls, and not only the fashion girls, the girls that we consume sneakers, or the women, we have to demand more of this type of sneakers so it can change, no? So it's always the point. We have to talk to have changes. If not, we will not have changes. And
100% agree, yeah.
Also, how do you think the fashion and sneaker business will develop in the next few years?
I mean, for Zalando, sustainability is a really big topic, and we're working with brands like Nike or Adidas also on those topics. So I think in the next years, more sustainable materials will become more and more important. And then also I think, or at least this is what I hope, that we will have fewer but more meaningful collaborations, because at the moment there are so many sneaker collaborations all the time. I don't think that's kind of sustainable, so I would wish for fewer but more meaningful collaborations. And then I think also, I mean, vintage is becoming more and more interested, especially for the younger generation. And I think sneaker care, and also to redo your sneakers, that your sneakers last longer. I think this is definitely something that, how it will evolve for sure.
And about personalization and like on-demand products, because I don't know if you know, but we are a fashion on-demand brand. And what happens now for us and for me, that I'm the creative director, is that it's really difficult for me to work with shoemakers, because they don't really believe on demand industry, because they have to have stock of the soles or of the different parts, because you know better than anyone that a shoe has a lot of parts and a lot of suppliers do a shoe, no? It's not the same supplier has all the parts of the shoe, no? So how do you really think will be the industry get to to get more about on demand on the shoe industry, no? How they can shoemakers and brands don't do a lot of overstock and do more like selected batches of products, no? And be more exclusive for this and not being, because there are a lot of stocks of shoes that might not be sold or sell, and they have to like do a lot of sales, reduce prices, and then sell it as you can, no? So I really think that industry has to work, and the shoe industry and the sneakers industry, but also the shoe industry has to work to do more like personalization, more like cool and less stocks, no?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a really good question because I haven't thought about it, and it's also not something we have talked to the brands yet about. I find it super interesting, but as you said, like for shoes, it's probably way more difficult than for apparel because also shoes need so much longer to be produced and also to have it in the warehouse. It's also not what the suppliers want, and I'm not sure. The problem is that consumers, they want their products now and they don't want to wait for it, because this is also what we see in the online business. You know, they really prefer delivery after one day. What I see definitely might be more interesting is definitely personalization, because the people, especially when it's about sneakers and streetwear, they want to differentiate themselves, they want to look different, they don't want to have what everybody is wearing. So this is definitely something that might be more interesting, but on demand, and especially for footwear, I think it's a really, really good question. Maybe I take that back to my brand and also to my department, because I haven't thought about it, but I think visibility is difficult.
Yes, it's like a goal I really have, no? Because our clients is like, why are you not doing footwear? And it's like, because I really want to have the same model as I have on the period, that is only selling what my clients buy, no, and don't produce anything more, no. But it's a goal that I really, and I'm looking for a lot of suppliers and talking with a lot of people how the industry of footwear can also be more sustainable with this model, no, with this on demand model. And also I really think that the 3D products on shoes will be a really good point for next years, and something I think a lot of brands are believing in this, and it will be something very very interesting for the next years on sneakers.
Yeah, I will take that back for sure. I will discuss that.
And just for not having you more time, and I really appreciate your time, can you tell us an iconic sneaker for you and why?
Yeah, to be honest, it's always a question that I get a lot, but it's really hard for me to decide on just one because there are so many. But obviously, and I know it might sound boring, it's still the classic white Air Force One because it's always been there and it matches to everything. But also there is the New Balance 990, which is one of my most favorite styles, which has always been there, and it's more for an effortless look, and it's super comfortable also. But I could name many more.
Yeah.
I have to pick at least one of these two, then it's those two.
I think that the most asked product of my personal Instagram on not my brand, my personal Instagram, was and has ever been my New Balance, my 530S New Balance model. It was like, because it's the sneaker that I have wore more, and I have for 3 years is the most one I'm wearing it, and everyone asked for it. So I really think New Balance did it really well these 4 or 5 years, and they have been really cool. But I really agree with you, and I really believe, and my next purchase on sneakers will be a Salomon ones. Our fashion designer here in Laga, she's now on holidays, but her sneakers she bought this last winter, Salomon sneakers on Zalando, and they are really cool. And I really believe in them, and I really think they are super cool.
Nice. We just planning some exclusives for 2022, so there will be a lot female exclusives that you can buy then.
Wow, cool. So we will be in there to see. We have it here a conversation, and someone asked us. She speaks in Spanish, and she was saying that she really loves the conversation, and my question would be, where does Daniela get her news from to have a sense of what's trending? And does she follow a lot of influencers on social media? I think it's related with the trend we asked before, but do you follow a lot of influencers on social media?
Yeah, I do. Like from key cities of New York, I have some girls, and then like from Scandinavia, I follow a lot of girls from Denmark, from Sweden, because as we discussed, they have really amazing taste and sense of fashion, and always earlier and ahead of us. So yeah, I actually follow a lot of micro influencers.
Yeah, I'm super fan of micro influencers and the ones because there's so many cool people on Instagram, so many inspired girls and women, that probably has very few followers, but they are so cool, and it's such a big inspiration for all of us, that I think for a buyer, because social media has also evolved your career, no, or your job, because it was not the same buying like 6 years ago or 10 years ago than now, no?
Yeah, totally. No, it changed. It definitely changed a lot, and I agree with you. There's so many inspiring women, and I feel sometimes the one with the least followers. I mean, they also have something to say. They have a story to tell. It's not just following like any just models or artists. It's really about girls that have a story to tell, and that stand in for something, and that have a really specific, outstanding style. And there are a lot of them.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna finish our podcast, our connection with Berlin and Daniela. So Daniela, thank you so much for your time, for your experience, for your story, and for sharing all your expertise with us. It has been a pleasure, and I hope we can meet each other. If you came to Barcelona, please contact me, and I really looking forward to see what you are gonna launch on Zalando this winter. And I really my last purchase on sneakers were on Zalando. It was a Adidas collaboration with, I don't know who was, but it was those ones with happy faces, the sneakers of Adidas. Do you know? It was so white with happy faces, and they're super cool, and I bought them on Zalando. So I'm really big fan of sneakers. I'm really big fan of your work on Zalando on sneakers. And here in Spain, and my friends, we we really buy sneakers on Zalando. So you are doing a really good job. So thank you so much. And we keep in touch.
It was really a pleasure. Thank you for having me and your time. And yeah, really hope to see you maybe soon in real life.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye. Have a nice evening.
You.
Bye.
Bye.